Today is day one of rebuilding my brand completely in public, and I am scared. Totally honest, I am scared and nervous about this entire thing. Before we dive in, before I start doing any design work, I spent a week going through and doing a brand audit, doing brand strategy for Blue Cyclops for the first time in forever. Actually, first time ever that I did this. And so that's what I want. This first video that's going to be going up on YouTube is the brand strategy. I want to walk you through the entire process, the entire final product. I want to show you guys what went into all of this, because this was not a small feat at all. Let's talk about the planning that went into this. So I split the challenge up into 5 parts, 5 stages. We had the pre-challenge planning. That's what I did last week. We have the brand system exploration. That's what starts this week. We have brand application, which I'll go into what that means. Then we have the brand system refinement. That's going to be like the last couple of weeks. And then we have implementation. Now, this is actually a part that is going to be completely at the end of the challenge, maybe even after the challenge. Then we went through and we actually planned out, or I planned out, I should say. I keep saying we, but it's me. We planned out the entire 30 days, including the week before. The green sticky notes up here, this was all the pre-planning. The red or pink sticky notes, the pink sticky notes here, these are all exploration. So anywhere you see the pink on this board here, it's going to be the exploration phase of it. And then any of the blue or teal colored ones is going to be the brand application or the refinement stages. So one of the first things that I talk about last week when I started going through and talking about this was talking about the origin story of Blue Cyclops. Just a couple weeks ago, I was in a workshop with Chris Doe, and he was like, Blue Cyclops is a horrible idea for a name. Yeah, he literally said that. The origins go pretty deep. This is something I didn't realize, but when I was a kid, especially in the 90s, late 90s, I was going through a lot. The way that I processed it was I created an imaginary friend who happened to be a 50-foot tall blue cyclops named Bob. After many years, I completely forgot about him. And so over time, I get into college, I'm stressed out about college and everything. I ended up creating this band poster. And on it, there was this massive blue cyclops that was in the middle of the city. I turned that then into my personal avatar, this giant blue cyclops, which I named Bob. I had no idea. There was no memory of this imaginary friend from when I was a kid. It wasn't until I think after college that I made that realization. I was like, holy cow. I had a imaginary friend named Bob the Blue Cyclops. I completely forgot about it. My mom didn't know about it. This was something I kept to myself. When I made that realization, I was like, okay, Blue Cyclops, Bob, yes, that makes total sense to keep him around. And so from 2010 all the way through to 2016, Bob the Blue Cyclops was kind of like my avatar, my logo. For my Instagram avatar, he was always my logo, but it was just like Rocky Rourke, and then you would have the Blue Cyclops be the logo. In 2016, when I was fired from my web design job in San Diego, I decided I was going to strike out on my own. In fact, leading up to that, I was ready to strike out on my own. They just gave me a little push. Within a week, I was like, you know what? I don't want to just do Rocky Rourke. I want to actually create a studio, because I want to eventually grow that studio. I want to build a team. I want to do a lot of stuff. I decided we're going to name it Blue Cyclops. I had friends who were completely against this. They were trying to convince me not to call it Blue Cyclops. They were trying to say, do Rocky Rourke designs or something like that. I decided, against their advice, to create Bob the Blue Cyclops into Blue Cyclops Design Company. That is now 9 years ago, or almost 9 years ago. I don't regret it one bit. And I think that it makes the brand so much more unique and so much more geared towards myself versus anybody else. If I really sit down and I think about that time and why it made more sense to me, I created Bob the Blue Cyclops as a way to protect myself, a way to get through a lot of stuff. Losing my job, I was petrified. I was scared. He was protecting me from my fear, protecting me from, being unemployed and everything. So it goes really deep to that. So now let's actually dive in and talk about the strategy behind all of this. Or actually, let's first do the brand audit and then we go into the strategy. There's a lot here. Anytime that we go through and we do a project like this for one of our clients, where we take a fragmented brand and we turn it into a unified brand, into a brand system, we always go through and do an audit of the brand. And so here we have the visual side of this. This is all of the design assets over the last 5 years, basically. There's some things in here that are older than that, but these are all of the brand assets. So for instance, we have all of the logos, all of the mascot versions. We have the word marks, the hand lettering, sketches, lockups, for basically like everything. Everything at the top here is more up to date. Some of the explorations that me and my team have done, some of the older works, like when we were really focused on blue Cyclops, green Cyclops, and red Cyclops. Green Cyclops is still around. In fact, I still send out my newsletter every week on that. Red Cyclops is kind of like on hold. It was our design subscription side, where we did a lot of production design stuff. And so like all of this stuff is here. All of it is here to see. Some of the old shield icons, shield marks that we have. This was a bunch of exploration into this. This was what we currently use today. Seeing some of the older stuff, older typography in here. Seeing some of the older illustration work. Like, I love this illustration style. Seeing some of the side projects. So when I used to do daily drawing lessons, which you guys probably can still find a bunch of YouTube videos on that. Going into like layout design and our first like capabilities deck here, our client onboarding, our services guide that we have, even going so far into our like deliverables, like logo design concepts. This was the deliverable for Quail Hill. So we have all of this stuff here so we can see like what goes into it, like what it looks like. And even our lead magnet right now, our 5-minute brand audit, which is our main primary lead magnet at the moment, and our first lead magnet, I should say. All of our illustrations. So these are pretty much, I believe these are all of the different illustration styles that we've used over the years. This was what we were starting to use after our brand sprints, and you can find it on our website right now. Here's the older illustrations that we had on our website, I think pre-pandemic or just after the pandemic started. We had these. And then here's some versions of like Bob the Blue Cyclops for a carousel that I did recently that you guys can find on my Instagram. And then we've got like old illustrations from blog posts, some of our explorations from the team. Adam Grayson did these awesome ones for Halloween content. And then we have these old cityscapes that kind of inspired these guys up here. Moving into looking at like just like assets, graphical assets. Old social media posts or blog content, ads, YouTube thumbnails. This was actually one of my favorite parts of seeing all of this, was seeing all of these photos I did. Like here, let's zoom in so you guys can see the weird craziness here. All of these like photos I did for a makeshift photo shoot, and then we had someone on the team go through and cut them out. And we ended up using like the majority of them in things like these YouTube thumbnails. Like you could see here, exploring color, like, you know, this is a YouTube thumbnail for some recent videos for my podcast that I used to put out content on. Like we use these across the board. And I just love seeing this because I'm like, this is stupid. I'm such a dork in looking at this. But you can just see like the range of assets. We have, you know, our current website. These are some of the final design files right here. Then we have the color. And this is why I say like we're probably not going to touch color, because we went so deep into it back in November, December last year. And so we have a lot of this set up. Now, I will be doing videos talking about this whole process and talking about how we go through and test these things and we figure all of this stuff out. So that will be happening. The same goes for typography too. We have typography pretty figured out. We have Moret as our headline. We have Fig Tree as our main body and sub-headline, typeface. In the past, we were using Beverly Drive, Santa Ana from the Hood Sisters, from Chutzpah. And then we also were using Recoleta Alt as our main typeface for many years on the website. And then we have some of our previous like graphical element exploration. These are actually, I think the majority of this. Yeah, all of this was done last year during our brand sprint. And so this is still relevant. Like this still is part of the exploration, but I want to push it farther. I want to see like what we can really use and what we can really, how we can push things further and everything. So, this is basically everything that we have visually for the brand audit. Now this here, I'm not going to go and do a full screen share on. I'm not going to go too far into detail into it, but this is actually the background of what our brand audits look like, where we go through, we review all the assets, we give them individual scores, and we just kind of like break things down. We give like detailed notes on what's working, what's not working with the assets, why we're giving them specific scores. And then we go through and we do this. We have our brand scorecard. Now, this is very detailed. I believe the entire brand audit assessment and then the actual scorecard here is based on 75 plus points. And you can see here, this is the score for Blue Cyclops. So visual brand identity, it got a D. Cohesion, it got a D. Everything else was C's, and so it averages out to average brand health, a C. This is not what we want to see for Blue Cyclops. We want it to be better. We want there to be a more cohesive brand system. And so this means we have a lot of work that we have to do for this. Okay, so now let's actually get into the main nuts and bolts of this. This is the brand strategy that we put together. Now, I'm not going to go through all of this, but I'm going to go through a good chunk of it. We start off with our brand archetypes. For us, the number one, of course, is the creator. We're a creative agency, we're a creative studio, a brand studio. And so we're going to be a creator. We figured out we're also the magician in this. And I'm not going to go into detail. You guys can go through and pause this and read these. Then we get into our brand substance. To empower unstoppable dreamers, to transform chaos into cohesive, unified, creative brands using storytelling and living systems as our guiding light. Our mission, we design and build living brand ecosystems that help visionary brands tell their unique stories and scale with confidence. Our vision, a world where every innovative idea is backed by a purpose-driven brand, building trust and inspiring engagement and driving lasting impact. I don't know about you, but like I've never actually sat down and like gone through and put these onto paper. This took a lot of time and a lot of effort, and I'm just really excited about what we have here. But this was a part that really took a lot. This actually took an emotional toll on me, going through and creating our brand story. And we have two brand stories right now. One is focused on the founders and one is focused on our secondary, which is marketers and designers. So the founders' hero journey, this is something that, of course, as my name is Rocky, I had to add in Rocky Balboa into here to kind of like narrate this journey. And so going through the exact same thing we just talked about, right? Early stage startups, SMBs, those are our two heroes in this. The founders of these companies, these are the heroes. The first villain is a fragmented brand. The other villain is a non-existent brand. And so this is our origins and the philosophy of this. Our purpose to help unstoppable dreamers build creative brands and storytelling and systems. And then this is our second hero, brand and marketers. We have worked with so many of these types of clients. I had to go through Die Hard. If we have Rocky Balboa in the first hero, we have to do John McClane in the second one. I went through all that very quickly. I actually we cut a bunch of slides from this. There's actually probably double the amount of slides that we showed. I didn't want to bore you guys with too much information. So now let's actually talk about the brand style. You can think of this as a mood board of like where we want to take it. And so I put this together. This is based on not only my inspiration I constantly am pulling from, but it also comes from a lot of the mood boards that I put together last year for me and my team when we were doing this during our brand sprints. I know like this is an overload of information. This is day one. And I wanted to make sure that everybody who tunes into this challenge, everybody who watches this journey sees it for what it is. Like this is a honest representation of who I am, of who the brand is, of who my team is. And in order to do that, I have to walk you through all of this. I have to walk you through the origins of Blue Cyclops. I have to walk you through the assets. I have to walk you through the audit. I have to walk you through the strategy of it, because all of this is going to impact what we do next. And so in this first day, and this is something like, honestly, these videos are going to probably be a day off from what I'm doing, but over the next couple days, my main focus is going to be the logo. It's going to be the logo? Yeah. Logo, marks, symbols. We're going to be focusing on the mascot and everything. And so I'm going to try and record, as much as I can of me actually doing this and me talking about it and sharing that in these future videos. So hopefully you guys made it through all the way to the end to this. If you can, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, comment, share your thoughts. I would love if you shared encouragement. That would be amazing. But I hope you guys follow along for the journey. This is day 1 of 30 plus days in this challenge, and I'm really excited to share it all with you. So hope you guys have a great day. Always remember to stay passionate, stay positive, stay creative. That's it for me. Goodbye. I'm out.